My friend Chris painted that for me. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to General Hospital Envy, my GH after show. Before we get into it, let's get into some GH news. So Steve Burton, aka Jason Morgan, tested positive for COVID. He is asymptomatic, he feels fine, and it's not going to affect his screen time because technically he was actually supposed to go on tour with Bradford Anderson, aka Spinelli, for the next couple of weeks. Obviously that has been postponed, but because of that, he wasn't going to miss out on any screen time anyway, so I guess we'll see what happens, in the next couple of weeks. What we know for sure, confirmed by Steve himself, is that he caught it at work, which means someone else on the GH crew, whether it's a cast member or, someone on the crew, tested positive or got COVID and unfortunately is spreading it in the workplace. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a dire situation, but there are some cast members being very vocal about, working with people that are unvaccinated, unmasked, etc. So it's going to be an awkward few weeks probably. In other GH news, Jeannie Francis is on hiatus for a while. That is her choice, thankfully, this time. She is going to enjoy the rest of her summer with her family and will be back in the fall. She picked a good time to leave, obviously, so, Jeannie is still GH. The last bit of news I want to discuss has more so to do with the General Hospital YouTube community rather than General Hospital itself, but I really wanted to address this because there is this YouTube channel that pisses me off to no end. They're not a channel that I've watched, but when I'm searching General Hospital videos, I always tend to scroll past their videos, and they always have, like a thumbnail and a title that is complete clickbait, untrue General Hospital spoilers. And this week, one of them had the audacity to post that M. Rylan was dead in real life. And obviously, it was for clickbait. And that makes me so mad. Like, the fact that someone's going to say that an actress has died for views when it's very much not true. And by the way, they put it in the description as well of the video that she was dead. But when I watched the video, it's the only video I've watched from theirs. But when I watched the video, it was all about how M. Rylan was moving. And like, the fact that people have the audacity to fake something as dark as that for YouTube views, like, what an embarrassing channel that is. It just makes me so mad. Like, this channel was called Young and Restless Spoilers, by the way, and I think, honestly, the video got enough backlash that he deleted most of his General Hospital spoiler videos because it's the only spoiled video that he kept, ironically, on that channel, and the rest is just random videos. But oh, it just made me so mad. Like the fact that you would do that for views is embarrassing and you should be ashamed. Furthermore, in general, just like I said, I've always scrolled past their thumbnails and it's always these ridiculous spoilers that are not true, that never come to fruition. I would say 90% of the stuff that person posts doesn't happen on the show. It's all bullshit and clickbaity if you guys want to look at spoilers. I'm not one of those. The only time I look at spoilers is when it has to do with casting news. But if you want reliable spoilers, go to reliable sources. Don't go on to YouTube channels where these people are going to say anything for views. Go to like Soap Central or Daytime Confidential, those kind of websites, or Soap magazines for your spoilers. Do not give those YouTubers the time of day because they just want your views no matter what lies they spew. And that's all I'm saying on that. Let's get into actual General Hospital storylines this week, all the highlights. First of all, Nicholas has finally figured out that Spencer is in fact the stalker, and all it took for him to realize that was details of an envelope sent by Ryan Chamberlain that was returned to Ryan Chamberlain. And it's like, I still laugh because there was so much proof that it was Spencer to begin with, even without that envelope, but this was the thing that made it legit for him. So the reason that he picked it up is because he confronted Spencer about this letter, and Spencer said that he had already heard about the cockroach situation and just returned it to sender. But on the envelope, it says that the letter was returned or mailed back out on the 13th of February, and the cockroach incident that happened to Ava happened on Valentine's Day, the day after. So that's when Nicholas caught Spencer in that lie, and his plan basically is to get some kind of revenge on Spencer. Like, So mature. Not that Spencer doesn't deserve a bit of revenge, but come on, man. So we don't know the full plot of Nicholas's revenge yet, but this is what we know so far. Nicholas overheard Spencer talking about how he wants to throw a party, and Nicholas gives him the opportunity to do so by saying he's going to go on a trip overseas for a business meeting so that Spencer has the opportunity to throw that party in secret. Obviously, the game plan is for something to happen at that party, and, you know, I kind of hope that Spencer gets his Carrie moment just like Trina did, because he'd certainly deserve it. For whatever reason, Spencer is going to have this party in the backyard of Windermere, as if there isn't a ballroom downstairs or anything. Guess GH forgot about that too, but you know, I'm just gonna take a deep breath and just make up a story in my head that maybe Nicholas sealed it off with cement after, you know, his last dance with Tumor Emily all those years ago. And if you don't know what I mean by Tumor Emily, that is not something that you want to look up. It was the dumbest story. It was so dumb. Long story short, Emily died, but then came back as a symptom of a brain tumor that Nicholas had for several months, where he could dance with her and touch her and probably other things that we don't want to talk about, and that was just a story that we had to endure. But I will say that their last dance in that ballroom was really sweet. Their final goodbye. Alright, let me know what you think Nicholas is going to do to Spencer in the comments below. Alright, now let's talk about Hayden's mother, Naomi Dreyfus, and the fact that she's already dead. That's right, folks. Long story short, Sean and Sam went to go pay Naomi a visit to get some answers about Hayden's whereabouts. We find out that she was in brief contact with her, and that was probably the only true thing that Naomi said the entire time, because she claimed that Hayden didn't want to be a mom anymore and that Violet was holding her back. And obviously, Finn knows it's not the case because he saw how devastated she was. I certainly remember Hayden's last scenes with Violet being completely devastating, and she was crying her eyes out, so we know that's not true. But we learned soon after that the reason why she was kind of making up these stories is because she was being watched by someone who obviously ended up killing her, and she knew that someone was watching her. Thankfully, Naomi was smart enough to give Sean and Sam a reason to come back to the room as soon as possible. She gave Hayden's full name, but lied about the middle name. Sean and Sam were suspicious and called Elizabeth to get Hayden's real name just to confirm, and they go back to the room. But unfortunately, Naomi was already dead, and the person that murdered her tried to make it look like a suicide, but unfortunately, Finn knows that Naomi had made plans with Violet, so he knows that she's not going to kill herself. And obviously, the PCPD eventually learned that she was drugged with a needle, and they put prescription pills in the bathroom to make it look like a suicide. So it's definitely murder. The thing I'm wondering is, who could it be? Obviously, it's someone that doesn't want Sean and Sam or anyone to find Hayden. I mean, I have one theory, but like I don't want to believe it because it doesn't make sense, and I don't want to talk about it here because it actually involves a spoiler of a character that's returning soon. But, you know, I'm sure some of you can guess who I think it is. Regardless, I just find it hard to believe that that person specifically would kill Naomi. So let me know what your theories are on who killed Naomi. Alright, let's talk Austin. It turns out that he might actually have a leg to stand upon when it comes to ELQ shares. We learned from an off-screen phone conversation with Tracy that Ned had that during the last few months before Edward's death back in 2012, Edward was softening up and writing letters to Jimmy Lee Holt again, and when she had learned that back then, she started intercepting the letters. So somewhere in the house there are letters from Edward that could potentially change how, you know, these ELQ shares were actually divided out. Austin is already aware that those letters exist, and he wants to recruit Chase, since he can't really snoop around the house himself, to do the dirty work for him. Obviously, Austin's trying to take advantage of Chase's mental state when it comes to Michael and Willow cheating behind his back. Chase doesn't say that he's going to help Austin, but, you know, there's a good chance that he might, because, you know, I wouldn't even blame him at this point if he wants to get a little bit of revenge on Michael and Willow. Honestly, I'm here for petty Chase. There is nothing he could do or say that would make me feel even a little bit sorry for Michael and Willow. I'm not sorry about it. This week, we also got to see Willow try her hand at nursing, and Felix and Elizabeth were just watching her proudly and schooling her on nursing. And I got mad Sabrina vibes. I don't know about y'all, but like, I just feel like they're trying to turn her into Sabrina and make her this martyr even though she's cheating on Michael. And I just, you know, They're making her a lot like her, and you know, why not go all the way? I mean, Sabrina dated Michael, and then she died. I can't believe I want a character dead that I used to absolutely adore. They ruined Willow for Michael, of all people. Ugh. Alright, let's talk about Aunt Stella. Now, she is struggling to remember what happened leading up to her stroke, but Curtis actually fills in the blanks for her for at least some of it. She feels so guilty, and she goes on a bit of an apology tour with the people she'd wronged, including Trina, but Trina says that there's nothing to forgive, because obviously it opened her eyes to the fact that her mother isn't perfect. Obviously, she's still mad at her mom, but I think between her conversations with everyone, and especially her conversation with Ava, no one is perfect, and that's what Ava pointed out. You know, her mother is human, and it sucks to know that her mom did something shady, but again, she's human. She made a mistake when she was essentially a baby, or perhaps not born yet. Still not completely convinced that Trina is not Curtis's daughter. But yeah, I'm sure they'll mend fences. As for Stella, I feel like she's never going to remember the situation with the envelope. Truthfully, the only thing that I can see happening with this is that maybe down the line, eventually Curtis and Portia will want to get married, and that's when I think the truth will come out that Jordan and Curtis aren't actually divorced, and then maybe Stella will be like, oh yeah, oops, oh well. Alright, now you guys know I don't like talking about the Nixon Falls story, but I have to kind of talk about it because something big happened this week. Lenny unexpectedly died. Well, not that unexpected. I mean, we knew he had cancer and everything, but I didn't expect him to die so quickly, up until the point where Phyllis and Lenny were outside of the tonneau and Phyllis went inside without him, and in that moment I was like, okay, he's gonna die before someone comes and finds him. And sure enough, Mike finds him dead, and he has to break the news to Phyllis and Nina. Now, while I don't like this storyline, I do have to give credit where credit is due. I think that the woman who plays Phyllis did so wonderful with the sheer devastation, like having that quiet moment with her husband, and then as soon as Sonny and Nina went inside, just breaking down. Oh, she's such a good actress, and honestly, she kind of gives me Mary May Ward vibes, you know what I mean? Like, just that sort of presence that she has. Like, I would love her to be in Port Charles, away from this Nixon Falls mess and, you know, the Mike thing. I think that potentially she could be a beloved character if they entwine her with the rest of the cast in Port Charles. Meanwhile, Sonny's loved ones are having really awkward situations, several of them actually. So Donna, who we haven't seen since birth, I don't think, was in her toddler chair. She's a toddler now. Almost thought she was actually Scout, but whatever. It was Donna. And Donna called Jason daddy, which means she's forgetting about Sonny. But, you know, to be honest, I'm surprised that she hasn't forgotten everyone because she's been taking a nap upstairs for 2 years. Jason does not feel comfortable with her calling him dad and wants her to learn how to call him Jason. I don't know how Carly felt about that. I feel like she felt kind of weird about that and was hoping that she would call him daddy, but I guess not. Another awkward situation is that Jocelyn asked Carly and Jason when the big wedding date is, and of course they don't have an answer. Carly then decides to have a completely imaginary conversation with Sonny Corinthos so that she can find closure and marry Jason with his fake permission, because he ain't dead. That conversation literally lasted an entire episode, you guys. Oh my god. This is just terrible. Oh, but speaking of Jocelyn, Jax is still pissed that she was approached by Joey Novak and goes to Dante and mentions that Jason and Carly are running the organization and that his daughter could be in danger. Obviously, Dante's hands are tied until a crime is committed, and Jax has a game plan. We don't know what that is, but I feel like it's gonna be a mess. Things literally never end well for Jax whenever he tries to go up against the mobsters of GH. Like, it's going to be a disaster, and y'all know it. Jax actually did try to confront Jason, and of course Jason didn't budge. I mean, Jax says, you should just get out of the mob, Jason. And Jason's like, I can't ever leave the mob. I mean, Ava has, but I think we're supposed to forget about that. Jason and Carly can never leave the mob, truly. It is what it is. I guess we'll see what happens next. But yeah, anyway, those were all the highlights of the show, but before I go, I do also want to mention a scene that I really enjoyed that didn't really move anything along, but I just really enjoyed it. Liesel and Scott had scenes at the MetroCorp pool, and they were absolutely hilarious and adorable. They got to have a real kiss this time and traumatize Britt and Spencer a little bit. Liesl invites him on a trip and Scott accepts, even though I don't think it's a great idea since Austin is probably gonna need him soon. But if anyone deserves a vacation, it's those two, especially after what they've been through this year. But yeah, those were the highlights. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Stay tuned. This Wednesday, I am reacting to another Girls Night Out video. I'm so stoked. I've been loving watching these videos with you guys. It's a lot of fun. And hey, why not bring a drink? I mean, get into the vibe of the Girls Night Out. I'm not gonna drink tequila myself, but maybe I'll have a rum and coke. We'll see. But anyway, if you like this video, give it a big old thumbs up, subscribe if you want to, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace out.